our age of advanced technology.
And I'm doing great today, Dr. Ed. What's up?
People are naturally attracted to those who are authentic.
I always knew I would do something big. I knew I was built to do something special.
It led over time to a pretty dark place.
As soon as my feet hit the ground in the morning, I've made a choice not to stop unless I'm asleep.
You know, I'm a 22-year overnight success.
How do I find the freaking jack to get to the next level?
All right, Laptop Lifestyle listeners, I have an incredible guest today. It's actually John Lee Dumas. John, how you doing today?
JLD here. I'm pretty fired up.
I'm super pumped. I interviewed Tim Page yesterday. Yeah, I told him I would be talking to you. He just, again, he gushed a little bit about you too. I'm going to probably gush a little bit about you throughout this episode. But for those who are under a rock, who don't know who John Lee Dumas is in the online entrepreneurial world, tell us, who is John Lee Dumas?
Well, listen, I'm a guy that's graduated college on an Army scholarship, so I thought that was potentially going to be my life. And I spent 8 years as an officer in the Army, 4 active, 4 in the reserves, did a little 13-month tour of duty in Iraq, and got out and said, let's try something different. But I kept it very traditional, so I tried law school, quit, corporate finance, quit, commercial real estate, quit. It just wasn't for me. 6 years, though, of that, and that was all like struggles and failures and unhappiness. But 4 years ago, at the age of 32, I launched EO Fire, which is a 7-day-a-week podcast where I interview today's most inspiring and successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. And I just interviewed my 1400th guest. So hitting some pretty big milestones here, generating over 1 million listens per month and a 7-figure business. So pretty happy on all fronts.
This is... it's incredible to me. I know, I'm a podcaster. I know what it takes to put out a podcast. 7 days a week, man. Was there ever a time that you just go, you know what? I'm done, man. I'm going to do this three days a week?
Never. And I'll tell you why. I spent a lot of time doing things I did not enjoy doing. So when I finally found something that I really did enjoy doing, which is talking to successful, inspiring, and cool entrepreneurs, I never want to stop.
I mean, you've built an incredible online business. I mean, I'd say you're pretty much one of the online business kings right now. I mean, you're completely transparent. I mean, you throw out your numbers and show everyone exactly what you're doing. And I think that's why a lot of people who are, probably listening today love you so much and appreciate you and what you're doing. Let me ask you this, though. If you could say in terms of a timeline from when you started, Entrepreneur on Fire, when you started the podcast to where you are today, what was the timeline in terms of success?
So I launched in September of 2012. And I remember my mentor asking me, well, when is going to be the first day you turn a profit on this thing? And I said, I have no idea, because I didn't. But I knew that I was going all in. And I knew that that was the goal and the focus was to turn a profit at some point. In the first 6 months, nothing. But I did get a call at the end of those first 6 months. And the guy just told me, hey, John, I have some potential sponsors for your podcast. I think that it'd be a great fit for you. We haven't gone into the business space yet, but I think yours might be the one to start with since you're a daily show and we can get a lot of sponsors at the beginning. So it would make sense, even though it's not a huge dollar amount. 3 days later, I had my 7th month of interviews completely booked out for $12,000. Wow. And I said, wow, this is real. Like, I'm making more money this month than I ever made in 1 month in any of the things that I've done before. So this is pretty cool. Let's see how I can build off of that. And the first year, was the first year from having the idea for EO Fire until that 1 year point, I did $26,000 in revenue. So nothing to write home about. But every year I've continued to ratchet it up to where, we did well over $4.5 million in revenue in 2015.
Wow. I mean, you've really proven that this is a potential business for a lot of people. And, in this podcast, we want to inspire people that are listening. So the aspiring online entrepreneurs, so that, that are in the ditch thinking, what, this is impossible, is that it is actually possible. I remember actually watching a few YouTube videos of Pat Flynn speaking. And I remember watching one, by the way, where you were actually attending, I guess, at that talk. And I'm like, oh my God, that's JLD Dumas. You get up and you actually got to the mic and you asked a question. So what's that relationship like with you and Pat Flynn now? Are you guys friends? Do you work together? What's that like?
So when I first got into podcasting, like as a consumer listening, it was like something that I fell in love with immediately. I got the medium. I just understood the value of free, valuable, on-demand content. Like it just made sense to me from day one. So I was really excited about it. And that's when I found out about great podcasts like Andrew Warner of Mixergy, David Simon Garland, Rise to the Top. And another one was Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income. So I started listening to these guys' podcasts. And at the time, Pat he had 30 podcasts. So he released 2 podcasts a month. And so I would just continue to go back and just listen to episode 1 through 30, 1 through 30, 1 through 31, 1 through 31. So I was like, this guy's producing great podcasts, but he's only doing 2 a month. Like I need more content. Where's more content? And I remember like when we jumped on this call for a little pre-interview chat, you were like, John, you must have people say like they feel like they know you all the time. Like that's how I felt with Pat. Like I felt like I knew Pat because his voice was in my ear all the time. I listened to all of his podcasts over and over again. And then I moved to San Diego and I said, wow, I'm moving to San Diego. Number one, because we're going back to where Kate lives so she can be close to family. But a huge benefit of moving back to San Diego was to be closer to people like Pat Flynn and just the great entrepreneurial community that's in San Diego. So I'll never forget, at that point, I was about a year into my podcast. I had already had Pat Flynn on my show as my guest. So I asked him out to a coffee. He said yes. We met. We hung out for a while. We immediately clicked. And we've truly been close friends ever since. In fact, just last week in Podcast Movement, it was just myself, Andrew Warner, and Pat Flynn, and Jonathan Fields. We went out for dinner together, the 4 of us, and we had a great time catching up. And, I'm now living in Puerto Rico, and Pat turned to me afterwards. He was just like, John, like, it really sucks that you moved to Puerto Rico. Like, you were a great friend, and, I miss you, buddy. And I was like, I miss you too. And I'm actually going live on his show next week for the 3rd time. So episode 223 on Smart Passive Income.
Incredible. Podcasting is such a small world. It seems like one of the things that we can talk about or touch on too is, you've built a really amazing community, and I'm actually part of that community to tell you the truth. My wife is also part of that community, and
cool.
Yes. So we have both started podcasts. Myself, it's been over 23 months, and I dominate in my niche in the healthcare profession. My wife, same thing. She's got a very specific niche for entrepreneurial women. We both did your program, which is Podcasters Paradise, or part of the community. And we both made that successful transition of taking people from fans and followers and listeners to actually clients and customers. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that. At some point you said, okay, look, I'm going to take on sponsors, but then you started creating digital products. You started creating a membership site, things like that. What was the stumbling block or any of the challenges that you saw when it came to actually creating that digital product?
So I think a lot of people don't realize how simple the recipe is for success. That doesn't mean it's easy to bake the cake. That's very difficult. But the recipe itself is easy. All the things are there. You need to deliver free, valuable, and consistent content. Boom. You're delivering free, valuable, and consistent content. Yourself, myself, we do that via podcast. Other people do it via blogs, via video, via Snapchat, whatever it might be. If you're delivering free, valuable, and consistent content, you are building an audience. If you're building an audience, you're going to ask them to engage with you in your intros, in your outros, in your emails, in your social media. And then when they engage with you, you're going to say, hey, what are you struggling with? And they're going to tell you all of their pain points, their obstacles, their challenges, because they know, like, and trust you, the host of the podcast, of the web show, of the blog, whatever it might be. They know, like, and trust you. And then you listen to their pain points or obstacles, and then you turn around and you create the solution for them. And that's how we created Podcasters Paradise. That's how we created Webinar on Fire and the Freedom Journal. And everything that we do is because we built an audience, and now we serve that audience.
Did you ever imagine, back when you were starting out, or maybe even just 3 months in, that it would become Entrepreneur on Fire would become such a large brand in the online world? No,
I didn't, but I didn't spend much time thinking about it either way, because I'm a big believer And you need to look at your life as like you're driving down a country road. Country roads are twisty and turny. Like we can't see our end destination when we start off. We know we're going to get there, but we don't know what that looks like the whole way. Like we can't just see it with one straight visual shot. To see the next bend, we need to drive up to the next bend, and then we can see around that. So that's kind of how I take my entrepreneurial journey. I just say, hey, listen, I know where I am right now. I know where I want to be. And I know that it's going to just take me taking action every single day, uncovering those bends in the road as I make my way in this entrepreneurial world.
John, do you think everyone who's an aspiring online entrepreneur who wants to create a digital product, membership site, something where they're actually getting a recurring income online, should have a podcast?
No, I don't. I feel like a podcast is a very intimate form of communication. I think that as human beings, we can really hear the voice. You know, you can cheat a little bit when you're typing. You can kind of type in passion. You can type in this and that. But our human ear is really attuned to the voice. We know when somebody's tired, when they're excited, when they're angry, when they're disinterested. Like we can hear that so well. We've just, over the years, you know, the millennia, just attuned to really getting to know that. We understand what those vocal intentions mean and intonations. And so to me, if you're not excited about the fact of podcasting, it's going to show and you're going to fail. So why do something you're going to fail at? But if you are excited about podcasting, or you at least want to see if it's something you might be excited about because you're just kind of clueless or potentially indifferent right now, then give it a whirl. It might be something you passionately fall in love with or hate. At least you know.
So John, what would you recommend to those people who are not a fit for podcasting? They just go, look, man, I can't do audio. That's just not my thing. They'd actually even maybe rather do video or blogging. Like, what's the best and let's say the fastest way to grow a following right now online to present them offers and having them ask and having them validate and ask you about their pain points?
Well, the simplest way is Facebook ads. And, you know, that takes money and that takes a little bit of knowledge, but both are pretty easy to attain if you're willing to work hard for it. But Facebook ads is definitely a way that you can grow an audience by just delivering it to a very segmented list, offering, you know, a killer free webinar that you're going to deliver value on, and you can build rapport there. Like that's definitely a tactic that I've seen people take that just don't want to put in the effort to create a podcast that, you know, they're committed to on a weekly, bi-monthly basis, you know, however it might be, or a web show or this or that. They just want to get people butts in a seat for one big launch, for one big webinar, for one big whatever it might be, and they'll go from there, and they'll either make it a hit or fail, and then learn from it, adjust, pivot, move forward, and go in another direction. The reality is, I mean, you just need to find your sweet spot. You know, to me, time is the most precious asset that we have. So we need to spend our time focusing on saying, hey, I'm going to try this. I'm going to go all in. So if I go all in, I'm going to find out really fast if this is something that I want to do, can do, am good at, or not. And both ways you win. Because if you're really good at it, well, then maybe, and you like it, then keep doing it. But if you don't and you fail, great. Now you know. Now you've just gotten back a lot of time that you might have wasted dabbling around doing this or doing that. And now you can move forward in another direction. Beautiful. And, you know, kind of perfect segue of time is that, you know, I know that your time is short, and that's why I got tactical real fast here on this podcast. But I'm going to circle back. I'm going to actually ask you one of the key questions that I ask everyone who comes on the Laptop Lifestyle podcast, which is, you know, what is your superpower? What is your strength? Mm-hmm. So I believe that I do have a couple really big strengths, and I'm a big believer in amplifying and focusing on those strengths. And then all my weaknesses, which is everything else, I just outsource. Like I find people to do it, or I just forget about it. Because I think one key takeaway is nobody wants okay. So why are you going to spend time, energy, money becoming okay at something that you're already bad at? Like just forget about it. Like it's not meant to be, or hire somebody who's great at it or good at it and have them do it. One of my biggest strengths, speed of implementation. You know, something I just talked about. Like I'll have an idea, like that idea is out and rocking and rolling the next day. I mean, I'm getting it out there and I'm implementing this so I can break it or see if it's a hero. And if it's a hero, I'm going to keep going forward with it. But if I break it, then I know, hey, it's broken, bad idea. And, you know, let's hit the next one. Another one of my big strengths is discipline. Like I know that I'm going to wake up every single morning. I'm going to do the right things as far as sleep, as far as hydration, as far as nutrition, as far as exercise, and as far as meditation, as far as journaling, and then as far as my daily Snapchats and my emails, and I'm really regimented on the schedule that I have in the morning so that I'm giving the best of myself to me and then to my audience. And then I turn on to OPA, which is other people's agenda. But I don't get there until I've given my best to either myself or Fire Nation.
Outstanding. And I guess I can, put a line through that question about balance, if it's possible. It seems like you're really working on maintaining the balance in your life and your business. Let me ask you this then. I mean, is it possible for someone to have a weakness? That someone who is as successful as you, is it possible to have that kryptonite? And what would it be?
I think it's possible to have kryptonite. I mean, I look at different things that people have that are kryptonites that I'm pretty blessed not to have, but gambling addictions, alcohol addictions, like food addictions, like those things are real things. And, I will say that, I would love to be a little healthier on my nutrition. Like I definitely can say that, I focus as much as I can on eating greens and on eating, really like vegetables as a major focus with some meats as well. But, I slip every now and then. So I can maybe say that sugar would be my kryptonite if I could maybe point to one thing. But it's on a pretty limited level. Like the amount of sugar that I consider a negative that I consume on a day, most people are having before breakfast. When they take that one swig of apple juice or orange juice that they think is so good for them. Or, oh my God, John, I'm drinking vitamin water. I'm like, no, you're actually drinking 23 grams of sugar in every 4 sips. So hope you enjoy that. So I'd say, a lot of people, will find money and find success. And then next thing you know, they're off in Vegas, rolling the die and doing this, or getting drunk all the time and kind of losing control of what they had. And, so those are some kryptonites that I've seen out there in the world that I'm pretty fortunate I'm not drawn towards. But, being pretty hard on myself, it would be the fact that, I could eat cleaner.
And I like how I'm going to make the link here, but I mean, there's definitely a link between how you show up in your business, like into your health. I mean, so if you show up at like today, like a 11 out of 10 for everyone who's listening, or for your podcast, and I should say an 11 out of 10 in terms of your energy and your health, right? It's a complete reflection also on your business. So I love this key point.
Now, be honest, where do you think my energy is for this interview?
Do you want me to be honest?
I asked you to be honest.
I think it's probably like, I listen to you all the time. So I'd say like an 8 out of 10.
Cool. Thanks for being honest.
Okay. What would you say it is today?
Well, I wouldn't even say that like today would be a good like kind of overall painting of the picture, because on my show, I'm projecting a certain kind of energy. And the reason why I'm projecting a certain kind of energy on my show is because I really feel the need as the host to make sure that my guests are bringing the energy. So they're going to be a reflection of me. And if I come in to the interview and, I'm a little off or I'm a little down, they're going to be a complete reflection of that. And like, you're obviously an enthusiastic and engaging person, but on a lower level of energy. So I am more as a guest on your show looking to match your energy. So it's not like this big disparity where like, I'm just like, my head's popping off and you're down here just like, Mr. Mellow, which neither is the case. Like neither you're not here, I'm not here. We're both kind of more like right here.
I love it. I mean, this is again a part of the tactical tips and strategies and things that can help people, especially if they're in the podcasting or doing even video interviewing or webcasting. I mean, it's all important, right? So let me actually get back onto the script as well in terms of like, John, I always love to ask this question. And this question is really about, before we kind of wrap things up, like who would you say makes it rain? That's what I call this. And so I want you to imagine you're in a room of highly successful online entrepreneurs. And one of them is actually incredibly successful when it comes to getting leads. The other can make sales. They're number one when it comes to sales. The other actually has the best systems and automation. Who in that room can make it actually rain? Who is the business windfall?
Russell Brunson.
Russell Brunson. That's an interesting point. Why would you say that?
Because he's got it all. He's created a SaaS business. He's an incredible speaker from stage. He understands funnels. He understands promotion. He understands webinars. He just gets it. He's the full package.
And so he's someone that you're obviously following too then, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Big time.
And learning from.
Yeah.
And so, John, how can people, like listeners right now, how can they actually learn more, follow you, and get a little bit more inspiration when it comes to the online entrepreneurial world?
Well, all the magic for me happens at eofire.com. And we have incredible free podcasting courses there, free webinar courses there. But, my latest passion project actually is the Freedom Journal. And this is a beautiful faux leather, because I love animals, gold embossed journal that will guide you in setting and accomplishing your number one goal in 100 days. And you can learn more about that at thefreedomjournal.com.
Beautiful. And so Laptop Lifestyle listeners, you can actually head over to the Laptop Lifestyle podcast.com, and we'll have a webpage dedicated to our discussion with John Lee Dumas today, the entrepreneur on fire. John, he brought it today, man. I mean, honestly, I got a full page of notes here of just, incredible knowledge that you've dropped and value for our listeners. And I want to just, give you another shout out as to, it is very inspiring to see someone such as yourself who has created and consistently, that's probably the biggest thing I get from you is you're just so consistent. I mean, 7 days a week, man, webinars, but, just consistency in your podcasting. I appreciate that. I'm still a listener, very loyal listener. And it's helped me in my life. I mean, life-changing, by the way, when someone can step out of their brick and mortar business and into the online world for myself and my wife. So I want to acknowledge you for that, John. So thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Well, thank you. And again, it wouldn't be worth doing what I'm doing if there weren't people like yourself that were taking action and changing lives as well. So that ripple effect means everything to me.
Hey, I want to thank you for listening today. And if you're new to the podcast, head over to thelaptoplifestylepodcast.com and hear more from 6, 7, and 8-figure online entrepreneurs. Even better, head over to iTunes, give us a rating and review, and that will help us help more aspiring online entrepreneurs. Appreciate you and see you on the next Laptop Lifestyle podcast.